Hey everyone, today we're going to be taking a casual look at an old PC game called Soultrap. Now, Soultrap was released in 1996 by a company called Microforum. They're a company that I don't think made too many home console or PC video games, but surprisingly, it's a company that's actually been around for quite some time now, and apparently they are still around in the mobile realm, which is kind of interesting. For a company that you barely hear anything about, it's just kind of interesting to see that they are still around. So I've got Soultrap here loaded up in the old virtual PC, and I've got it running Windows 95. Now, Soultrap came out in '96, back when Windows 95 was at its peak, basically, and so it won't work on Windows 7, unfortunately, but again, if you really want to check out this game and try it out for yourself, you can play it in the virtual PC, which is how I've got it running. Virtual PC, it's not hard to set up, and it's a free application now, downloaded straight from Microsoft, and, so if this game interests you, definitely look into getting virtual PC. It's a cool application to have regardless. I highly recommend checking out virtual PC. But Soultrap, I'll go ahead and start a new game. It is a third-person sort of platformer and shooter. It's fully 3D for the most part. The backgrounds are just solid 2D images, which is kind of expected for the time period. This was '96 after all. It's quite unique, and that can be taken for both better or for worse. This game is, well, let's just say it's unique. I actually had this game back in the day. I had it back when it was still relatively new. My parents got it for me. I was a kid, and they would buy me most of my PC games. And, I played this game a little bit back in the day, but it was a very difficult game. I never got very far. I think I got to the third level or so, and that was basically it. And there's a couple big reasons for that. The controls are... Well, when you move, you slide around. Your character doesn't actually run or walk or anything like that. It's very slippery. Your jumping is very high, and it's easy to, say, accidentally go over an edge like that and kill yourself. And it's just... it's kind of awkward if you're used to something like, I don't know, Mario 64 or something like that. Let me go ahead and get over here. This is basically just a training stage. If you go to the right over there, you can actually get a gun, and you can sort of learn how to use your gun. And but I'm not even going to worry with that because there aren't any enemies in this training stage. So what I'm going to do real quick is kind of just explain how this game works. And you've got free looking with the mouse, which I'm doing right now. You can also invert the mouse controls if that, suits your fancy. You can actually hit V to change your viewpoint. You can zoom out like that, or you can go to a sort of pseudo first-person perspective. What's actually kind of cool about it is you can see your arms and sort of legs and whatever thing you're hovering on. That's kind of cool. I always like effects like that. That's pretty neat. Not many games actually do that from the first-person perspective, so that's kind of cool. And that's basically it. You do get some items. You get some extra or different types of weapons and so forth, which I'll demonstrate in the next level. And, just like in a first-person shooter or something like that, an inventory will pop up on the screen. You can hit any of the numeric keys to flip through your weapons. Key controls in this game are customizable. I've got it set to using WSAD right now. The right mouse button by default makes you jump. So, that takes some time to get used to. I might recommend mapping that to the spacebar if you want a WSAD setup. And actually, sometimes I find myself hitting spacebar out of habit when my jump button is actually the right mouse. So that's something to keep in mind if you want to try out this game. You can definitely configure your controls. Just like a lot of Windows 95 games, configuring your controls isn't quite as easy as some games in our modern era. So, it's got its own little quirks and so forth. But here we go. Platforming. One of my biggest problems with this game is the platforming. The platforms are very small in this game for the most part, which I think is kind of poor level design, especially very early on in the game. You do have a limited amount of lives, which if you look in the top right hand corner of the screen, you'll see like my dude's head and a number sign next to it. Those are my lives. My life bar is obvious. It's in the top center of the playfield. In most stages, you get timed as well. You usually have 20 or 30 minutes to complete each level, and you know, if time runs out, you basically die. And that's in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. There's also an enemies number on the bottom right-hand corner, but I don't think that really means much. I mean, it tells you how many enemies there are, I suppose, but as far as I can tell, you don't have to destroy all the enemies in a stage in order to progress. Usually there are puzzles you have to solve, which I'll demonstrate on the next level. There's keys you have to find in certain cases. There are, well, other kinds of puzzles you have to solve that, you know, use your head more than just finding keys of some sort. But there is usually like a boss or two in a stage, and the boss you do have to defeat in order to complete a level. But I mean, it's a boss, so what are you gonna say or do? So the graphics in this game are kind of cool. I mean, it's you can the draw distance is very far. However, you know, there's not much going on. As you can see, it's just a bunch of blocks here, a bunch of square blocks, you know, with basic textures. The textures do look good for 96, but there's nothing else around it. You just see a background, and things can get a little disorienting. But, you know, I'm kind of trailing off, going all over the place. What I was trying to say, though, is that the platforming is very... you know, all the platforms in this game are very thin. It's very easy to accidentally, I don't know, strafe off a ledge by accident like that. I'm just kind of trying to give you an example here where it's safe to do so. But the platforming is also challenging. I mean, you have to scale up these blocks right here. And, you know, one thing that is cool is if... Say like right here, my character is, I don't know, he's got just enough height to get up on that block. If you just jump and hold forward onto the block, he'll kind of just sort of like kind of stick to it, which is nice. So some areas, you know, the platforming, you know, it's not too bad. Like right here, his jump height is set to where, you know, he'll basically just kind of suck up to each block or get stuck on each block as he goes up. But there are other cases, like with this one right here, where it's not quite that easy. You go up too high, and you can, you know, you might overshoot the platform or something like that, and that makes platforming really a pain in this game. Now, there is a function I actually just learned about by reading about this game online. It's something I did not know about when I was a kid, but you can apparently, when you're jumping and moving, you can actually press the return key as you jump, and your character will apparently just fall down. Oops. Your character will apparently just fall down straight. So if you jump up, well, let's try it here. Of course, I got my return key on the other side of the keyboard, so I'm going to try to just hit return. Yep, you go straight down just like that, which is useful, but you know, you're going to have to keep that in mind when configuring your controls. In this case, it might actually be better to just use a arrow key setup instead of the W, S, A, and D keys. There's some other traps in this game as well, like that set of stairs just moved over, so those are some things you have to be aware of when you're running through stages in this game. But, oops, that is kind of basically Soultrap in a nutshell, guys. I mean, again, this is just a training stage, so let me go ahead and get on to the game and show you what real levels are like, and before I wrap up this video. Ouch, I just did it again. Alright, let's go to a more zoomed in look. Oh, come on, please. Some of the, I don't know, movement in this game is a little choppy. There we go. Like when you go up the stairs, it just sort of pushes you up, and it's kind of awkward. If you try to jump and you're not on the top stair, it might not work. So, you know, I don't recommend trying to do that. Take your time, make sure you're in the very top stair right there. And here's another situation where you might overshoot your jump. You can actually jump about as little as you like, but you can also jump about as high as you would like too. So, you know, you're gonna have to really sort of finesse it and make sure you don't overshoot or undershoot your jump. Alright, so now we're getting into the actual game. That was, again, just a training stage. Now, as you can see, we have a time limit in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. We've got, it says 9 enemies. And again, you don't have to destroy all the enemies to complete a stage, but, you know, it tells you how many are there. So, now I've got an attack. This is the Infinite Blade, or Infinite Blades. And just like a first-person shooter, a typical one, you just hold the left mouse button to fire it, and because this is unlimited, you have no ammunition. However, you do get some other items, and I'm going to demonstrate that on this level actually. You do get some other items that are limited. For instance, I'm going to get like a special axe of some sort, which is a lot more powerful than these blades, and you know, that does have ammunition. Likewise, when you get keys in this game, those have ammunition as well. You have a limited amount when you get them. I'm going to have to actually pick up a key on this stage in order to progress to the end of the level. And you get like 5 chances to use the key, and then after that, that's basically it. I think you have to kill yourself to make the key reappear again, which is kind of, again, poor level design. There's quite a few poor level design choices like that in this game. There's actually on the next level after this, which I should be able to show you, there's this jump potion you have to get in order to basically get up to a higher platform. The problem is it only lasts for a couple of seconds, and if you don't get to that platform in those couple of seconds, the potion disappears and it doesn't come back unless you die. So you basically have to force yourself to die in order to progress on to that area. The potion does not reappear, so you're stuck. And you know, that's some kind of shoddy level design in my opinion, not very good. And you know, that's one of the several problems that this game has. Just kind of poor level design. I think the this is a kind of a tricky one, so hold on a minute. Let me try to not talk as I go through it. The game, I mean, it has some poor level design. Again, like I said, the platforms are very narrow. They're very tight. It's easy to fall off of them, and you know, that's problematic. But it does, on the other hand, just make you really, you know, sort of think about what you're doing, and it sort of makes you have to stop and realize what you're doing. You know, sort of kind of analyze the situation and the scenario before actually making a jump. It's not quite like, say, Mario 64, where you can just, you know, be jump happy and just go all over the place. But I mean, look at that. That platform is super small, and again, your movement is kind of slippery. It's kind of, well, it's slippery. So, I mean, just look at him going left and right. It's just, it's not perfectly rigid and precise, so you might accidentally slide off that very thin block, and that is kind of annoying. Well, not just kind of annoying, it's really annoying. So here we go, I got a key. And let's hope I can get through this part without missing the jumps, because again, super tiny platforms, it's very easy to die. And what I'm going to do is actually in the next level demonstrate how dying works. Not really how it works, but what happens when you do die. And one of the other problems with this game in terms of, you know, a bad design choice is that when you die, you go back to the very beginning of the stage, regardless of how far you are into your current level. Now, none of the enemies will respawn. You know, all the enemies you've killed are gone. But if you die, you've got to start back out at the very beginning. And any important items that you collected, you have to collect them again. So it's not like you keep the stuff in your inventory. So again, that's another very bad design choice, and it makes the game a lot more frustrating than it needs to be. I think this game really could have benefited from a checkpoint system, and unfortunately it does not have one. So I'll just go ahead and demonstrate that real quick, dying. For instance, I'll get on this platform over here. It's going to take me over to this area, and I got some dynamite, which is really powerful, but it's good to just save that. Here's that potion I was telling you about. You have to jump up and get to that platform right there. But the problem is, the potion runs out, and you get 3 seconds to get up there, and hey, what do you know? The potion's gone for good. It's not coming back up. You can go down, you can try to jump back up. It's not coming back. You basically have to kill yourself like this. Just like that. So now I'm back at the beginning of the stage, and I've got to do it all over again. But fortunately, you know, I'm not too far into the level, so I was just kind of demonstrating that for you. But guys, that's basically Soultrap for the PC. I'm sure I could talk a little bit more about this, but I think you get the gist. I think you kind of understand what's going on here. It's kind of a cool game, and you know, because I had it as a kid, you know, I'm definitely nostalgic about it. And you know, since I've got it now, I actually found it at the thrift shop. Actually a Goodwill, just a couple days ago. So I've been able to try to play it again, and you know, thanks to Virtual PC, I'm able to play it without too many problems. Unfortunately, I've got the graphics resolution set on low detail right now. It is still at 640 by 480, but it's not as sharp as it could look. And also, because Virtual PC, I don't think it's all that optimized. It doesn't run the best. It runs at probably about 20 frames a second for me, which is a shame. Yeah, maybe, yeah, I'd say about 20 frames a second. It's not as smooth as it was when I was running it on my old Pentium 1 computer. And again, I'd chalk that up to just Virtual PC not being all that optimized or running all that well. So, but I still can play it, and, you know, despite its flaws, it's still kind of an interesting little game. It's an interesting little piece of sort of 3D polygonal PC platforming history, because this was one of the earliest fully 3D polygonal platformers for the PC. There weren't too many games like this before this game. I mean, you got to think, in 1996, Quake came out, and Quake was one of the first fully polygonal, textured PC first-person shooters and games, period. Prior efforts like Alone in the Dark utilized two-dimensional backdrops with polygonal characters. So I mean, you know, the game was pretty impressive for the time when it came out, but again, its bad design choices kind of keep it from being an amazing game. But if you can get around that, you might actually still enjoy playing it. Now, as far as I can tell, guys, you can actually download this from a variety of websites. I'm not sure how that works, because this game does require the CD-ROM to play, so I'm not sure if there are patches or no CD patches or anything like that. If you do have the original CD-ROM, you do also have the benefit of having music, because all the music in this game, aside from random ambient sounds and things like that, is actually streamed from the CD-ROM. And while I do have the CD-ROM in my disk drive, it's not reading. I guess Virtual PC doesn't like the CD-ROM drive or something like that, and it's not quite working. So unfortunately, you won't have any music in this video from this game, but the game does have it's got an interesting audio soundtrack. It's kind of quirky, it's very atmospheric. It's I'd say the soundtrack fits with the game well enough. So, well, as usual, guys, I'd like to say thanks for watching, and if you're new to my channel, feel free to subscribe. I've always got more videos like this on the way. So until next time, guys, take care.